So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, beautiful people around the world, and especially all of you who are joining us today at this very special session. In Connectathon, in yesterday and today, we have already seen 3 ancient future wisdom sessions: Africa, Japan, and Americas. And we're very excited to welcome now India and Myanmar to share their visions of ancient future wisdom. We have learned so much already, and all I can say is a deep thank you to everyone who remembers, because the wisdoms that we're carrying on from generation to generation, from civilization to civilization, are helping us really to sustain. Is something that we are leaning on when the times are tough and in times of joy. So it's my very, very honor and a real privilege to welcome a new session on this topic, and of course to invite the 2 co-hosts, 2 Ecocivilisation wings, one from India, one from Myanmar, dear Rajni and dear Nini, to take over, introduce our guests, and lead us through the ancient future wisdom of India and Myanmar. Please.
Thank you, Violeta, for these golden words and for setting the tone of the event. So, if we take a deeper insight into previous civilization, offers us a plethora of reasons to believe about the vital ancient wisdom that we have lost in the fog of the time. Nevertheless, much is still preserved and remembered and even practiced by some people, some wisdom keepers even today who are close to nature, who follow the path of spirituality and believe in sharing ancestral knowledge. On this note, let me invite my co-host, Dr. Khin-Ni-Ni from Myanmar, to welcome our first guest. Nini, you are mute.
Sorry, it happened 935 times. I have to learn. Thank you. I would like to I would like to welcome and thank you, all of you. And I would like to say only one word, why we do this session. Our world has full of war, full of sufferings, and full of miseries. But it was not natural. It was all man-made, human-made. That is why we would like to reverse the world to be a very good one, and of course using the ancient wisdom. Therefore we do it, and we have only 2 speakers because we have the limited time. So without further ado, I would like to respectfully call upon the first speaker. And before that, I want to also give the bio. So Most Venerable Sayadaw, please await me reading the bio. The Most Venerable Sayadaw, Vivekananda, has trained under the Venerable Sayadaw, Pandita Bhiwanta, since 1988. He has been teaching Vipassana and loving kindness meditation at the Pandita Rama Lumbini International Meditation Center in Lumbini, Nepal, and abroad since 1998. Venerable U Vivekananda guides meditators in English, Burmese, German, and French. He is the resident teacher and abbot at Pandita Rama Lumbini International Vipassana Meditation Center. He has been teaching more techniques, I mean, Vipassana meditation and Brahma Vihara meditation. Brahmana Vihara meditation in the tradition of the Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw since 1998. He has been teaching in Nepal, the United States, Europe, and Israel. Venerable guides meditators in a precise and encouraging manner. Pandita Rama Lumbini offers a supportive, comfortable, and peaceful setting for Dhamma students seeking practice. The meditation method is intensive vipassana in the tradition of the Venerable Mahasi Sayadaw and Pandita Rama Sayadaw, both methods, which consists of sitting meditation and formal walking meditation throughout the day. Almost daily interviews and regular Dhamma talks in English are offered. Meditators observe noble silence and keep 8 precepts. Pandita Rama Lumbini offers an ongoing retreat year-round. Meditators may schedule their individual retreat from a minimum of 7 days up to several months, starting at any time of the year. Pandita Rama Lumbini is keeping the old tradition of dana and has operated from its very beginning entirely on the principle of generosity. There are no set daily fees. Monetary donations are used to maintain and further develop the meditation center for the benefit of present and future meditators. With this, I would like to call upon Most Venerable Sayadaw to teach us for 15 minutes PR.
Okay. Hello to everyone, and Satna, thank you very much for the warm welcome by Professor Dr. Khin-Ni-Ni Thein and Satna Dr. Rajni Vohra. The contribution for this section of the program is entitled Normative Buddhist Concepts on Environmental Conservation. In Buddhism, the 4 Brahma Viharas and the 5 precepts, Panchasila, are particularly influential in defining our attitude towards the natural world. The Brahma Vihara are referred to as the divine abidings and consist of loving kindness, metta in the Pali scripture language, compassion, karuna in the Pali scripture language, sympathetic joy, mudita, and equanimity, upekkha in the Pali scripture language, which encourage the protection of all sentient beings and ensure their well-being. These are extended by the 5 precepts. The 5 precepts are, for those who are not familiar with them, number 1, abandoning the taking of life, one dwells, refraining from taking life, without stick or sword, conscientious, compassionate, trembling for the welfare of all living beings. Having abandoned the taking of what is not given, one abstains from taking what is not given. One does not steal the wealth and property of others in the village or in the forest. Number 3, one undertakes to observe the precepts to refrain from sexual misconduct. The fourth precept states, abandoning false speech, one abstains from false speech, one speaks truth, adheres to truth, is trustworthy and reliable, and is not a deceiver of the world. The fifth precept states, one undertakes the precept of refraining from intoxicants that cause heedlessness. Among the 5 precepts, 3 in particular are relevant to attitudes and actions toward the natural world. The first precept, in Pali referred to as Panatipada Virani, calls for the abandoning of the destruction of life and the abstaining from killing living beings. It encourages us to abide in compassion toward all living beings. Underlying this precept is the Buddhist ethical principle of non-harming, in Pali given as ahimsa, which includes a sense of deep respect for living beings, sometimes expressed as respect for life or the sanctity of life. In India, ahimsa seems to have been emphasized most among the unorthodox renouncer movements, the so-called Samana movements, such as Buddhism and Jainism. These movements emphasize concern, in Pali known as Deya, and sympathy, in Pali referred to as Anukampa. So concern and sympathy for living creatures and an increasing empathy with them based on the awareness that others dislike pain and death just as much as oneself. As the Dhammapada, one of Buddhism's pertinent scriptures, notes, I quote, all tremble at the violence, all fear death. Comparing oneself with others, one should neither kill nor cause to kill. As a result of its association with ahimsa, Buddhism is generally perceived as non-violent and peace-loving. While Buddhist countries have not been free from war and conflict, Buddhist teachings constantly praise non-violence and express disapproval of killing or causing injury to living things. Again, in the words of the Dhammapada, he or she who has renounced violence towards all living beings, weak or strong, who neither kills nor causes others to kill, him or her do I call a holy man or a holy woman. Though ecology and animal rights are unlikely to have been a distinct topic in the philosophical agenda of the ancients, under the influence of ahimsa, rules and practices have developed which concretely aim at avoiding damaging animals and even plants. Regarding plants, for example, well before the Buddha's time, there was a custom on the Indian subcontinent that wanderers would stay in place for the rainy season, both to avoid having to negotiate muddy roads and to avoid trampling plants. Bhikkhus, which are ordained Buddhist monastics, in the early years of the Buddha's teaching career, were criticized by the Jains for not observing this custom. So the Buddha gave his permission for them to stop wandering for 3 months of the rains. Later, he even imposed a penalty for not observing this custom. Regarding animals, concrete rules and principles also have emerged. For example, animal sacrifice, which had played an important part in Brahmanical religious rites in India from ancient times, was rejected by Buddhism as cruel. The Buddha was very critical of animal sacrifices as part of rituals. The Indian Emperor Ashoka banned animal sacrifices, at least in his capital city, gave up hunting for sport, and prohibited the castration or branding of animals on various holy days due to his conversion to Buddhism. He also completely banned the killing of young goats, lambs, and pigs, as well as their mothers, while still providing milk for them. Due in part to the influence of Buddhism, blood sacrifices in the Orthodox Brahmanical tradition came increasingly to be replaced by symbolic offerings such as vegetables, fruits, and milk. Many Buddhists, especially followers of the Mahayana tradition in East Asia, have embraced vegetarianism, as this diet does not involve the slaughter of animals. The second precept, in Pali given as Adena Dharma, Virani, encourages abstaining from taking what is not given and cultivating honesty. This includes abstention from fraudulence, breach of trust, embezzlement of funds and public goods, such as trees or possibly a healthy environment. Likewise, the second among the training rules for Buddhist monks, requiring expulsion states, should any bhikkhu in the manner of stealing take what is not given from an inhabited area or from the wilderness, he is defeated and no longer in meaning. In other words, he is no longer considered a bhikkhu. In relation to nature, second precept means that out of gratitude for the bounty of resources nature provides us, we should protect and care for nature. An adage states, if one were to sleep or sit under the shade of a tree, one may not break the branches of that tree. If one does so, one is an evil, false friend. His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, leaves no doubt about our responsibility to take action to protect the future of our planet and ensure the survival of humankind. The key thing is the sense of universal responsibility. That is the real source of strength, the real source of happiness. If our generation exploits everything available, the trees, the water, and the minerals, without any care for the coming generations or the future, then we are at fault, aren't we? His Holiness asks. The responsibility of care and protection is important when determining the permissibility of things like climate engineering. Finally, the fourth precept, Musawada Verami, calls for the abandoning of false speech, an ethical injunction that encourages the adherence to truth, transparency, and making scientific research available to the public. False speech is not only disruptive to social cohesion, but it also creates an illusion. Vital decisions concerning the research of climate change and the potential deployment of climate engineering measures have to be based on reality, not on some fiction. In Buddhism, the fundamental law of cause and effect is termed karma and vipaka. In essence, it states that wholesome deeds by body, speech, and mind bring about wholesome results, while unwholesome deeds lead to unwholesome results. The Buddha emphasizes very clearly that the state of mind determines the quality of our actions and consequently the results. By identifying the mind as the origin of suffering, joy, the concept of karma is deeply linked to the other Buddhist teachings and concepts, grounding one's thoughts, words, and actions on the realization of interrelatedness, as well as trying to act out non-violence. Or,
time is up.
okay, now one last sentence. Out of abiding of loving kindness and the divine abidings of loving kindness, metta, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity creates joy rather than suffering. Thus, for the Buddhist interpretation, it is not only important what forms of environmental action are taken, for instance, action towards emissions reduction, etc. It is also crucial to consider the motivation and mindset of those deciding on and carrying out the actions. So maybe this much for now. Thank you for your attention. That was okay?
Very okay ပါဗျာကျေးဇူးအများကြီးတင်ပါတယ်ဗျာတပည့်တော်ယခု my co-host Rajni will take over. Rajni, would you please unmute? Yeah.
So much Vivekananji for such thought-provoking and deeply enlightening words. And now moving on to the next segment of our event and introducing our next speaker, 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐬𝐝 Muradi, who is being born in the east of Iran and raised in the west in Netherlands. 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐬𝐝 first came across the ancient teachings of Raja Yoga as taught by the Brahma Kumari's World Spiritual University while studying the communication science at university. Ever since, she has continued to practice and teach Raja Yoga meditation. For nearly 2 decades, she has been a committed student and teacher from Brahma Kumaris in the UK, Europe, and the Middle East. Her main interest is in self-awareness, emotional, spiritual intelligence, and personal empowerment. Sister 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐬𝐝, the floor is all yours.
Om Shanti. Greetings of peace to all my brothers and sisters who are present today. It was very lovely to hear the Buddhist principles of nonviolence and compassion, and grateful for the invitation. I would like to start with a moment of silence wherever you are, and whichever silent practice you have, please put your feet on the ground and let's have a moment of contemplation and silence together. Thank you. Is the sound audible for everyone? Is the sound heard? Yes, it is clear. Yes, it is a very interesting topic that you've given me, ancient wisdom for modern lifestyle. I would like to start with sharing with you a bit about our modern lifestyle and the problems with it. The aim of every human being, regardless their culture, their nationality, and their religion on this planet, is to have a good standard of living and a quality of life. That is what we're seeking. In short, we would like to have love in our relationships, peace in our minds, and happiness in our life, regardless where we live and what our background is. And in order to achieve this high standard of life, Our emphasis has been in the last centuries and decades, it has been on improving our outside world. The aim has been to improve our gadgets and computers, the cars that go faster and they work on different fuel systems. We are more focused on finding better houses, bigger houses, better jobs, and to find more wealth and improve our relationships. And all of it is essential, and there is nothing wrong with it. But the disbalance is that there has been given a very little importance in the society and in our educational system to our inner life. That is what's going on in the mind and how we respond to situations and circumstances outside. And apart from a very few, even in the field of psychology, there is really little effort that's made for us to understand these matters. And I feel that's where spirituality comes in, spiritual wisdom comes in. But why it is also important is that one might have wealth, he might live even in a castle, but if he's not aware of his inner dynamics and he's not understanding what's going on inside of him, then he can live a life of anxiety and depression, even having what he thinks will bring him happiness. The opposite is also true. If someone is having a healthy mind and a healthy mindset, and he's having a rich inner life, then he is automatically easier and more comfortable to be efficient for improving his outer circumstances, regardless what those circumstances are. And the essence of spiritual wisdom or message, as I have been taught at the Brahma Kumaris, the Raj Yoga, is that there is a higher consciousness. We do have a higher consciousness, but at the moment, we are somewhere in a lower consciousness. We are operating at a lower state, collectively and individually, most of us at least, as if we are not fully awake. And you might think, what's the problem with that? And the problem, the limitation actually within that is that if someone is asleep and you tell them that he's asleep, what will happen? There is no one to hear. The person is asleep, so they can't hear you. It is only when they wake up that they can realize that they were asleep in that moment. And same thing is if someone is unconscious, we can tell them you're unconscious, but it doesn't mean anything to the person. And this is what one famous philosopher, Plato, was referring to when he said, we don't know that we don't know In other words, we are not even aware that we have slipped into a lower consciousness, into a lower mindset. And for us in this moment in time, it is useful to know the situation so that at least if we know the situation that we are in, we can find a way out and we can wake up again to our own higher consciousness, and we can live from that level so that our living standard is good, but also our life quality is good. So there is that balance between the two. And we can use, I will conclude with a metaphor that I would like to use, and then we can see whether there are questions. I would like to use the analogy of a prince and a beggar. In this analogy, the prince has totally forgotten that he's a prince and he thinks he's a beggar. As if he's under a spell, he's under a hypnosis, and he thinks he's a beggar. So if someone comes to him on a good day and says to him, "Do you know that you're a prince?" What would he say? He would say, "Oh, I'm a prince? Thank you very much. Do you have some coins for me?" The awareness that he's having is still of a beggar, even though he is a prince. So he hears the word prince, but his awareness and mindset is of a beggar. And a beggar is happy when he gets the coins, and he's unhappy when he loses the coins. And even a beggar can be happy. I mean, if he's getting a lot of coins, a beggar can be very happy. But still, he has a beggar life with beggar consciousness, basically. And all along the line, the paradox is that in essence, he is a prince. Whilst he's begging, he's a prince. He has a whole kingdom and he has all the treasures, but he has forgotten it, that he's a prince. And the complexity with this beggar syndrome is not always just begging. It has many other symptoms and ongoing behavior and attitudes that come up, patterns. The beggar is comparing himself with others. The beggar is in constant competition. He becomes disappointed. He's attached to his begging bowl. He's having the most beautiful begging bowl and no one should take it away from him. And he feels insecure and many other complications that come up with this beggar mentality and the beggar syndrome. But in opposite of that, the life of the king and prince, how is that like? If this beggar would wake up to his own reality, he would notice that the life of a prince is different. The mind of a prince is different. The mindset is different. They're not subject to any beggar syndrome in their mind. The life of a prince is of what? Of celebration, a dance of happiness, a dance of clarity, and a life of loving and giving, donating freely. If you see any prince or a king nowadays going to a charity event, they don't go there to take. It's not gimme, gimme, gimme. They're there to give. Because they know, back in their mind, they know that they're already full. They have everything already within them. So the spiritual knowledge tells us that right now, at this moment in time, we have many, many inner treasures, all of us. And in essence, we are that eternal prince that we have forgotten. So no need for begging, no need to go out there. We can start a life of giving. Giving from our inner treasures and inner values. And I think that is the importance that ancient wisdom and spiritual wisdom can bring in this modern life for all of us, regardless our nationalities, religion, educational background, or even socioeconomic background. Thanks so much. Let me hand back to Rajni. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you so much, Sister, for such golden words in the light of spirituality, very much needed in contemporary lifestyle. And today we have two such incredibly profound and insightful presentations, which serve a great reminder of balance in life, aligning with nature, with universe, and live with harmony, and most essentially, compassion, deep respect, sympathy, non-violence, and above all, the peace, universal responsibility. What seems to have missing in this fast-paced social media-filled times and world. And we are sure that your golden words, your pearls of wisdom will facilitate the world and the people to unite to create a harmonious and balanced ecosystem which could nurture the life. Now let me call upon my co-host, Dr. Vinu, to conclude the session, and thank you, thanks to all speakers.
Thank you, Rajni. Thank you once again for our excellent two speakers, Most Venerable Sayadaw and Bhikkhu Elders. We are really enriched by two of your speeches. Not only today, we will carry it with our heart and mind, and we will practice in our daily life. Now it's time for the audience. The audience may want to ask questions. So please ask to two speakers, but please mention which speaker you want to pose the question. If it is for both, then say my question is for both speakers. So the floor is all yours, dear audience. Why not our beloved Violator? You have discussed a lot in the chat. Please discuss or question.
Thank you very much, my dear friend Nini. It's an ongoing burning question, which probably is a hypothetical one, but every time I listen to these beautiful prayers and discussions, I always wonder, where is the point where we lost this connection with the Prince inside ourselves? Where is the point where we growing out of the violence, or are we growing in the violence? And what was the splitting point of our inner world that started to walk this path? Is this evolution that we are walking and we are improving as human species, or is this the destruction and we're actually falling apart? The question is for both of our speakers.
Thank you. Please, I would like to invite both speakers to take the chance. Sayadaw, yes, please. You unmute first. Yeah.
Yeah, I have unmuted. Okay, so maybe as a first attempt of an answer to that question, in the end, that certain point of losing the connection happens when we live without mindfulness, without clear attention to what is happening from moment to moment to moment. But as soon as we start paying attention, as soon as we are aware of what is actually going on, as soon as we're carefully observing what is going on within ourselves and also without, that is when an evolution towards something positive, something wholesome takes place. But otherwise, if mindfulness, attention does not come in, we will remain in that ignorant state of mind.
Thank you, Pia. Bhikkhu Pia, please.
Yes, great questions to ask. It is a gradual process that happened. We did it to ourselves in a way. No one put us under a hypnosis or anything. We slowly forgot who we really are in essence as the attention and awareness got towards the outside. It is like you can see it even now. If your awareness and attention is fully out there, you're little less observing of what's going on inside of you in the moment, even in this moment, at the present moment. And the evolution is not a physical outwards going evolution. Because of the disaster that we got ourselves in, we will go and seek for answers like you all are doing now online. And that will create for us the opportunity to reconnect again back with that eternal Prince. So there is a benefit in everything that is happening, because eventually the evolution is the way inwards rather than anything out there and shooting for the moon. But we're getting there definitely, and these programs are helping with that. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Bhikkhu. Yeah. Another question, please. Kiwimya, Doris, Wawa, I'm calling the names, Ramit, Kata, Sunny.
Violetta has a follow-up question on chat, so maybe we
please.
can do that.
Okay, okay. So can we say we are in the process of balancing our inner and outer world? This is the consequent question, sir. Thank you, Ramit. I didn't read the chat. Sorry. So we can say we are in the process of balancing our inner and outer world.
I'm guessing, yes, I'm guessing it was for me. First, we need to wake up. We need to wake up to the circumstances that we have caught ourselves in. And after that, the process, well, the life starts to balance ourselves, I would say. But the first thing that's needed is to wake up when we are asleep. No one is there to listen or to understand that we are asleep.
Thank you. Seattle tried to answer as well. So I give the floor.
Yeah, sure enough. Thank you very much.
I saw it.
So the answer from my side is somewhat similar to what BK always said. When we start paying attention, when we start being mindful of what is actually happening within ourselves, and this includes the mind, then a gradual process will take place where we come to understand the true nature of things and the true nature of bodily phenomena, the true nature in particular of the mind. And we come to understand or see the difference between unwholesome, unskillful, unhealthy mental states, mental factors, and opposed to them are the beautiful, the wholesome, beneficial, skillful mental factors. And we will gradually see for ourselves that living with a wholesome state of mind will provide or will cause a state of happiness to occur. So quite naturally, the mind will increasingly, of course not all the time, but increasingly, by tendency, it will gradually travel that wholesome path. And it will gradually understand, oh, there is much more to this inner world. There's so much to be developed. There's so much to be, first of all, discovered, and then to be developed. And as part of this process, so more and more wholesome mental states come on, and as part of this, equanimity as a mental factor comes up. Equanimity, balance of mind, neutrality of mind. The mind that remains unaffected by the ups and downs of life, by the agreeable and disagreeable events in life. And the mind becomes unshaken, unperturbed with what is now unfolding. And it is at that point that also our relationship to the outer world will change and it becomes more balanced. And then we can say, as Rajni posits, we can say there is a balancing of the inner with the outer. But this is not something that happens instantaneously, but it's something that we have to work for. And it's hard work, but it's definitely worth it. And over time, it leads to a mind that is extremely strong and firm, no matter what the external or internal circumstances may be.
Thank you, Pia Utimare. I feel so touched, but I also understand and aware that who are not really in the tradition of Buddhism may have a difficulty to grasp it 100%. So let me rephrase what I understood from Sayadaw. First thing, to get the balance, Sayadaw wants us to be mindful. Mindful. When we are mindful, we know the pain in our body or mind, and that pain will lead us to more and more awareness. And in order to get that balance, we have to also strive into the wholesome world. And we want to get out of this suffering. So don't do any sin, but going to the better action, better thinking. So you see, all start with the mindfulness.
Right.
ရှင်ဖျားတပည့်တော်အားလုံးကိုNepal ကိုဖိတ်ချင်ပါတယ်ဖျား With this, I also want to invite all of you to go to Lumbini in Nepal and taste the mindfulness meditation. It is really very good.
Thank you very much for all these deep insights and also for allowing us to spend with these distinguished two speakers and great two hosts the time that is bringing us back to our inner world and the importance of mindfulness, of kindness, of honesty with ourselves. So yet another deep and very far-reaching session, and a big thank you to all of you for creating this space and sharing this ancient future wisdoms with us. So at this point, Ramit, I would like to ask you to close this session and stop